Still not gay. Not gay.
Did you plan that rhyme?
No, I didn't plan on that, but it worked out well.
It worked out well.
It worked out really well.
Sometimes you just fall backwards into things that work for you.
Sometimes you fall frontwards into things that turn out okay too. Back to you, Stephen.
Okay, thank you very much. And man, what a show do we have? We have quite the shindig for you this evening.
It's gonna be good.
Ben Shapiro coming on,
or this morning, but don't know when else.
This evening, morning, depending on when you're.
You could be in China.
To this, you could be in China. By the way, if you're in China, you guys have some problems. I mean, listen. I know it's a homogenous culture, but there are still billions of them. It's like World War Z at a certain point. They're just going over that wall and they just become human stairs. I don't want to throw China under the bus.
Talk about the zombies still.
No, we're talking about the Chinese. But I repeat myself. What? What? Racism in the very first segment. How great is this? So, we have Ben Shapiro, the world's favorite, snarkiest Jew. Great guy. Gotta love the Jewish Ben Shapiro. And Tim Kennedy. So contrast, you have Ben Shapiro, intellectual, not necessarily confused as a tough guy. And then Tim Kennedy, UFC top contender, former Army Ranger, host of Killing Hitler, Hunting Hitler?
Hunting Hitler.
Hunting Hitler.
Yeah, co-host on that show.
Hunting Hitler. And then, of course, Courtney Scoffs, my wonderful editor, who, by the way, Courtney, if she's listening or watching, thank you so much. She had a vacation. I know she was burnt out. And things would not work at louderwithcrowder.com without the team of Courtney, of course, our McBrody. Casey is the newest one, and she is just great. And she had to make her Twitter private because everyone was hitting on her in ways that were sexually just wildly inappropriate, but they meant to be complimentary. The internet's a very bizarre place. And I don't know if I'm missing anybody. No, I think that covers it.
I think you need to send the weird compliments to me. I would take those over.
No, you weren't on a thank you list. Notice you didn't get a Christmas card.
Usually just calling for my firing, which is usually appropriate. Usually fair.
We had a problem with the stream even starting today. So a lot has happened this week. It sounds to me like I'm in a fishbowl. Is there something going on?
It sounds that way too, but I think it's just your voice.
It's for some reason it sounds like the studio, maybe it isn't padded or something like usual. I don't know what that is.
Well, the duct tape doesn't hold up as well.
The duct tape doesn't hold up as well.
No, they're keeping the foam on.
All right. Anyway, a lot of news this week. Wisconsin coming up. That's going to be big by the time you're listening to this and you're hearing this. And some numbers came out. So we have a few stories. One that I find hilarious, and we have up at louderwithcrowder.com. An employee at a university grabbed and manhandled a student for cultural appropriation. For those of you who do not know, this is it means that something is racist, and I'm
kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal for people in our generation. And the cultural appropriation was this white kid was wearing dreadlocks. Apparently, this girl had never seen a Korn music video. Like, that's all it was on MTV the early 2000s, was really bad guitaring and just swinging of dreadlocks. So, apparently...
In defense of the... dreadlocks on a white dude, it's not
dreadlocks
good.
On anybody don't look good. The guy, Bob Marley, they look bad on Bob Marley. Bob Marley has dreadlocks. You associate it with him. If Bob Marley had any other haircut, including the Burger King Kids Club, house party, high and tight, he'd still look better. Dreadlocks look awful. And I don't think you can wash them very effectively. Anyway, so that's a story. We'll talk about that later on. A girl was pepper sprayed at a Trump rally. Awful. 15-year-old girl, pepper sprayed. Terrible. But the media lied to you, said that someone had groped her, and then they pepper sprayed her. No one groped her, from what we know now at the recording of this broadcast. And she did full wine sucker punch somebody, and then someone pepper sprayed her. So it's just ugliness all around. All around the world, all across the American political spectrum, in this studio. Thank God you people never actually have to set foot in this studio. The immune system that we both have, not gay Jared and I, and living such close proximity with each other, we would be marvels of science. If you could just take a skin graft and put it in a petri dish. So the first thing I wanted to lead with, though, is Obamacare. These new numbers came out. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time. I hate to do the I told you so. But I love doing the I told you so. Yeah. So new report came out, and this also ties into Ted Cruz, who was on with Jimmy Kimmel, we'll talk about later, where I have the quote right here: Obamacare enrollees are sicker than those covered before the law. Backers see this as good news because it means those needing coverage are getting it. But it's actually a sign of an impending death spiral, not a good sign when you use death spiral. A new report from Blue Cross Blue Shield finds that those who signed up for Obamacare in 2014 and 2015 had higher rates of various diseases and used significantly more medical services in their first year of coverage. They go on to say, but to work, Obamacare had to bring in young and healthy people to offset the costs of the older and sicker to keep insurance premiums down. Otherwise, the market would enter into a death spiral where high premiums with more healthy people would drive healthy people out of the market, pushing rates up further. This is exactly what's happened where Obamacare has been implemented, which is crazy when you think, and this is what leftists knew would happen. I talked about this a long time ago. No one else really cared to. Anthony Weiner, I know, well, let's get, grow up. Grow up. Anthony Penis got an exemption for Obamacare. A lot of these leftists got their districts or got their voting constituency. They got them exempt. So they supported Obamacare. We had to know it was in the bill to pass it. So Anthony Weiner, I just say because it's a name that sticks in your mind because his last name is a synonym for a Doniger. So you know Anthony Weiner. If I name you some other congressman or senator, you might not remember the name. But Anthony Weiner, the guy who got caught showing his wiener. Grow up. Got an exemption for Obamacare. Now, if you look at their justification, it was because they understood the costs. Hillary Clinton has said that she may enact an executive order to stop the crushing costs of Obamacare. Premiums have gone up 49%. Deductibles, now usually if you pay a higher premium, you would expect a lower deductible, right? With Obamacare, that was a promise. No. Premiums have gone up an average of 49%. By the way, that's a very broad number. For most people who are working and had an average plan, if you're middle-aged, it's gone up much more than that. But at least 49%. All the sources at louderwithcrowder.com, deductibles have skyrocketed. For many people, doubled or tripled. People are getting less for their health care than ever with this. And this goes back to fundamental economics. This is why I did the video on why democratic socialism doesn't work. What do you think is going to happen? You're basically forcing insurance companies are making a bet, right? What they're saying is, okay, if we have X amount of people, let's say we have X amount of people paying $200 a month, and their deductible is $5,000. We know that if we charge this amount, we'll have enough people and will not use their deductible, therefore we will make X amount of profit. That's how their business works. It's very, very mathematical, tight. There's nothing sexy about it. And then the government comes in and says, no, you have to cover everyone. They say, well, hold on, our math doesn't allow for people who eat a diet of Snickers and fried Oreos and then dessert coming onto our healthcare plan with diabetes and gout. Gout's still a thing. It's still a thing, but it doesn't really come from, most people aren't getting it from iron-rich food. They're getting it from being fat-ass obese. A lot of people are getting gout. So saying we didn't account for this, and the government says, well, you can't deny these people for pre-existing conditions. Now, I understand that a lot of insurance companies were denying people for like, well, listen, you cracked, your knuckles are cracking, we can't accept you. I understand that, and insurance companies are terrible. This entire law was a big kickback to the insurance companies. So again, their business is betting. It's betting on health. And now you have thrust into their risk pool a bunch of people who are unhealthy, a bunch of people who everyone else has to subsidize. So this is where we are. Anyone who understands basic economics knew this is what was going to happen. This is what Republicans said would happen. This is what conservatives said would happen. This is what's happened in Canada. This is what's happened in all these democratic socialist countries that Bernie Sanders loves to praise. It's just a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb. And just like we talked about, John Stossel talked about this, when you have insurance, and now you have a lot of young people who get this subsidized insurance, you get whatever you want. Like you're saying, sick people, but they're using a bunch of services that maybe they don't even need. The back of my neck hurts. I'm going to go in and get an MRI. Mm-hmm. I don't know. My toe hurts. I think I might have gout. Although if you're 420 pounds, you might have gout. That's actually it's not frivolous. I'd get it checked out.
Completely reasonable.
It's reasonable for the 400-pound guy with a sore toe to think he might have gout. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to speak out of turn, as I often do. And the point is we all saw this coming. And you were told, no, this is not true. This is going to be great. And something that's really important, and we've talked about this, same thing with unemployment. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have said, Barack Obama's great for unemployment. The unemployment rate is low. The economy is recovering. They say that when he's in office, right? But when they're running, they say it's over 11%.
Yep.
Why? Because it's one thing to lie. At that point, when you're in office, you're lying to the press. It's a PR thing. But when you need to gain votes, at some point you have to be honest with people. And that's just such a blatant lie. If you say, well, unemployment is low, no, you know it's bad. And so, well, it's 11%. Here's how I'm going to fix it for you, because they, this hero worship with politicians.
Well, it's the same thing with the jobs are doing great. The economy's booming. but Wall Street's really screwing people right now, and no one's getting any money. It's rigged and going downhill when they want to go downhill, and it's going uphill when it benefits them.
Right.
For the reports. So
yeah, exactly. And then they bitch about how wages haven't gone up, right? Who's been at the tiller? Like Bernie Sanders, people who vote Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton to fix our problems. You're like 10-second Tom. You can't remember the last 7 years. It's been them. We'll be back. We'll talk cultural appropriation. Stay tuned. Louder with Crowder.